one, two, 1, 2. Am I clear or do I need to lean in? I'm good?
Yep, you good.
Okay.
And now the camera's on you
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are so back. Thank you for sticking around. I'm hoping y'all enjoyed the show thus far. You know, we had the actor Nakia Dillard on. We had Kevin Knox, the life skills coach, and now we have the most talked about, most requested, uh, handsome black man up ahead, Dr. Umar Johnson. So, yo, check us out, phillyhotradio.com. Phone lines are 484-477-6348. Chime in, but I thank you, Dr. Umar, for coming back here.
Thank
I
you. Glad to
appreciate
be
you
back.
coming here. So, the last time you were here, you were actually looking for a school, and
Yes.
now
Now we have the school.
you have
Wilmington,
that.
Delaware is the location.
What?
Yes, ma'am. Not too far from Philadelphia, which works well for me since I have a mother here in the city. So that allows me to still look out for my mother and move forward with the process of renovating and opening the school. So we've successfully completed the first stage of this journey, and that's
Wilmington.
acquisition, purchasing the school. We own it outright. It is
Wow.
ours. It is a 4-building campus. We have 2 schools, 2 gyms, and a 4th building. So it's 4 buildings all together in Wilmington, Delaware, black neighborhood, black community. And right now we're
Wow.
trying to raise about $1 million to restore all 4 of the buildings. Even if we don't hit the million mark, if we come close to it, we'll still have enough revenue to at least rehab 1, 2, or 3 of the buildings. The beauty of our situation is that all 4 buildings are 1-floor buildings. So,
Okay.
the renovation and the restoration is a one-level job. You don't have to worry about going upstairs or downstairs.
Right.
And that's the beauty of what we got. So we're asking people to mail in their donations, check of money orders payable to the FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware 19809. You can also cash app your donation to cash.me/$FDMG school. Again, cash.me/$FDMG school. So folks can mail them in. I picked up about 30 today. Thank you to all the brothers and sisters who have been donating. Because they are the reasons that we finally, after 4.5 long years, have been able to purchase this school. And the beauty of our location is we are neighbors with the Boys and Girls Club of Wilmington, Delaware.
Oh.
And they have a nice sized swimming pool, and they also have a very large park across the street. And we're looking to build a relationship with them. We want to support them, and they want to support us as we improve opportunities for our young people. So overall, it's just a tremendous situation, a very great situation. With that being said, there was a school in Philadelphia that I was looking at just prior to the Delaware school,
Right.
and I just found out that the white realtor, young white boy, had actually deceived me and told me that the Catholic school in question in North Philadelphia at 19th and Tioga was not available for sale. And I found out that it was available for sale. So he lied to me because he did not want to sell the school to a young black man. So I'm going to be speaking with an attorney to see if I have a case against him for intentionally misleading me against that school. However, with that being said, I'm still more than happy that the Lord took us to Delaware, because the Delaware school is a much better school. It's a much better property than the North Philadelphia property that I would have purchased had the little white racist not deceived me into believing that the school was not available. So we're in the best place we could possibly be in. The school was more expensive than what we could afford, but through the grace of God and 18 months of negotiating with the owners, as of February the 7th, 2019, the school is ours.
Wow. Congratulations. I really thought it was going to be in Philadelphia. And
It would have been,
yeah.
but the Delaware school
the school,
is much better.
yeah, it's
It's
much
much
better.
better. It's modern. We do have to do a lot of renovations only because the security was not great. The
Okay.
last owner really didn't secure the building the way that he should have.
Right.
So hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage was done
Yeah.
just for a couple of people to get a couple of dollars worth of copper. They ripped sinks out. They ripped toilets out, brand new toilets. This was a
Wow.
state-of-the-art charter school. This was a state-of-the-art charter school, and it was largely destroyed from within because of poor security. But we're going to get it back. We're going to get it back up. It's beautiful. I was there again today, and I just walked through the halls, and I marvel at what we got because we're going to make history, not just with our children, but I want the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy to be the central organizing locations for Black consciousness, Black power, our Black organizations. It's going to be an international centralized location for all Pan-African activity. So in addition to the school, it will house the National Independent Black Parent Association, which is something I hope we touch on briefly. It will also house Team Pan-African, which is my Pan-African organization that I started back in 2005, the International Movement for the Independence and Protection of African People. It would also house so many of the conferences that we want to see take place. The beauty of FDMG, the beauty is we have so much space. So we can have our International African Women's Conference. We can have our Young Pan-African Revolutionaries Conference. We can have our Ex-Offenders Conference. We can have our block parties. We can have our festivals. Everything we want to do, we can do in those 4 buildings. And then we have the whole street that is ours. So, you know, the cookouts are going to be crazy. The festivals are going to be crazy. Black Wall Street is going to be crazy. I want to do a monthly Black Wall Street where we rotate all the Black businesses in America and across the world. And one Saturday or Sunday every month, the entire gymnasium is filled with Black businesses. All the classrooms are filled with Black businesses giving seminars on their products, how to start your own business. The entire small gym is lined up with vendors and businesses. And then the small school, nothing but Black businesses and entrepreneurs. So I want to do a once a month Black Wall Street where the entire Black community can come to the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy and buy everything they need for the month. So we will basically be a on-site Walmart, a once-a-week Black Mart, where all Black businesses selling everything from toilet paper to cosmetics to computers to automobiles will all be centralized under the same roof once a month, and we're going to call it Black Wall Street.
Black Wall Street.
So the opportunities are endless. The opportunities are absolutely endless. We want to have a horse farm for the children. We want to have a regular farm, an animal farm. We're going to have a Marcus Garvey gun club. We're going to teach our young men how to fire firearms responsibly. There will be African martial arts. There will be trips to Africa. I mean, the opportunities are limitless. So again, I just thank God for getting me here because 2018 was a very, very rough year for me. And I'm just glad that 2019 came in with the success of us finally getting to school.
And 2020 would be even better.
2020 will be even better because that's when we hope to open up. We want to open up the school on August the 21st of 2020, which will be the 100-year anniversary of Marcus Garvey's first international convention and the 100th anniversary of the red, black, and green flag. That's when we actually want to open the school. But we want to raise $1 million by this August 21st of 2019 because I want to have a week-long celebration for our ancestors, our quadricentennial, 400 years of Black struggle against white oppression, 1619 to 2019. So if we can raise enough money to rehab these buildings over the next 3-4 months, then we want to have that celebration right on site. We want the whole Black world to come to Wilmington, Delaware, and participate in the quadricentennial festivities of our ancestors.
That's so interesting because I was born and raised here in Philly, North Philadelphia. Born and raised, born in Somerset, right between. But I never. Now the young gentleman that was here from Philly, West Philadelphia, and I had the actor, and he's from North Philly, but I've never attended a North Philadelphia school. But I left Philly. I went to Chester. I left Chester. I went to Delaware. Wilmington, Delaware. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I stayed in Claymont. So I was in the county. And then, no, I'm sorry. I went to Wilmington, and then I wound up going to the county. So Claymont. So I was in Claymont, but my nonprofit is in Wilmington, Delaware. So I pretty much have connections with all of whoever's who politically wise in Wilmington. So when you say Wilmington, it's like, wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wilmington is going to be very
Oh,
excited.
Wilmington
And
gonna be popping. It's gonna be the
yeah,
capital of Black America.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it is.
So
That's
yeah.
exactly what it's gonna be. It's gonna
And
be the capital.
their school system, and I'm not putting anything away, taking anything away from the other schools, but Wilmington schools district really need some help. Like they really do. They need someone to come in and change and revitalize some stuff. So congratulations, much love, much, I can't say wishing, but much success on this. I know Wilmington is going to be on you to further help you. I'm just hoping that the right people touch you and not try to touch you and use you. So yeah, so
And the beauty, as you know, of the location of Wilmington
yeah,
is it's at the apex or the meeting site of southern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, and then northeastern Maryland. So what I like about that from a Pan-Africanist perspective is we will be able to serve boys from all 4 states. It's close enough for boys who live in northeast Maryland to attend. It's close enough for boys who live in southeast Pennsylvania, your Chester, your Brookhaven. Okay, it's close enough for boys in southwestern New Jersey, your Camdens,
right,
and Point
to come
South.
right
So
there.
we will be able to serve boys from 4 different states, and then we also want to build a dorm. Of course, that's a 3 to 5 year project. But we want to build a dormitory for parents who would like to send their children to be a part of FDMG, but who can't afford to relocate to the area. And then we also want to build an online virtual school for African boys who live in other countries, other cities, and other states, where they can tap into the classroom live and be in the class by way of computer. So we're the students, but we can see our classmates at home on the screen, and our classmates can see us. So they'll get the real school experience, literally. So virtual school versus a cyber school where you're being taught by a computer. With the virtual school, you're still being taught by a live, living teacher.
Now, what would be the difference between your school and the average Joe Blow school?
What would be the difference between FDMG and the average school? The simple answer is everything. The complex answer, there's a lot of things. I'll just give you a couple. The goal of our school is not just to prepare Black boys for college. Every school in Philadelphia, that's their only goal. If the child gets accepted, they consider it a success. Now, whether they finish or not, whether they end up with a job or not, whether they become a success story or not is irrelevant. They just want to be able to say, all of our boys got accepted. That bar is too low for me because college is not automatically a recipe for success. We want to prepare our boys for life. And more particularly, we want to prepare them in the art of acquiring, defending, and protecting power and expanding power, economic, political, social, intellectual, spiritual, so forth and so on. So we are a school that will be focused on creating nation builders. A Black God University is what FDMG will be. Our 6 key curriculums will be agricultural and agronomical science, dietary and nutritional science. We will also teach political and military science, science of the Black man and Black woman. We will also teach spiritual and astrological science, in addition to those sciences that are required by the state. So obviously you have to teach math, science, social studies, and language. But on top of that, we will have the 6 nation-building curriculums. So every child will learn at least 2 African languages. Every child will go to Africa. Parents will be required to also take courses in parenting. They will get a lot of the same curriculum that the child gets because it doesn't make sense to teach the child without teaching the parent.
Right.
And also for struggling children, they go to school 7 days a week until they don't struggle anymore. So we have a solution for special education. Being a school psychologist, I know all too well how a lot of our children get away with not doing their best by making their parents believe they have learning disabilities. 85% of the children in special ed in Philadelphia do not have a learning disability. They have a lazy disability.
A big difference. There's a big difference.
So I can't wait for them to try that at my school. Since you need extra help, We're going to give all the help you need on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, I'm allergic to Sunday.
No, listen, man. We've talked about this before. And sorry for my tardiness. My name is Pat Edward.
Pleased to meet you.
Representative of just the community and many things. We met some time ago in the church in the basement off of Broad by Temple. This is my first movie, almost a decade ago, man.
Okay.
A lot of people have issue with you because you speak the truth, right? Sometimes it's not what you say, it's the approach. But sometimes like there's really no time to be, if you're unapologetically black, like there's no way around that. It is what it is.
Exactly.
But no, to your point about a lot of these young men, and you would know this better than me. Unfortunately, they're not being raised by men. Because I was raised by a man. I mean, I met your dad, great man. So I know you were raised by a man too. So our understanding is a little different. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate everything that you just said. But I think a lot of these young people, they're in their own way, but they have a lot of people that are coddling them that are in the way as well.
I agree.
So I believe in the wraparound method. What brought you to that? What led you to that? To that dynamic or that thought?
Well, when I first became an assistant principal back in 2005, that's when I had an epiphany that maybe I could do more to save children running a school than just being a psychologist.
Gotcha.
Because I said being a psychologist, even if you're a full-time therapist, you get 40 clinical hours a week. Okay. You work overtime, you get 60, right? But that's only 60 people you're touching.
Okay.
Whereas if you're the principal, you touch 600 every day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Purely from a numbers perspective, I said, you know what? I may have to get into education. Psychology is still my first love. Yeah. But education and psychology go hand in hand.
Okay.
So that's what led me into the principal field, because I said I can do more as a principal. Because on the principal side, you can prevent children from struggling. You can prevent the delinquency. You can prevent the ADHD. Yeah. As a psychologist, you get them once they've already been labeled. They've already been marginalized. They've already been branded as a problem. So from an intervention perspective, education beats psychology 100 times over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what you missed was that he officially has a school in Wilmington, Delaware.
I'm excited.
Yes.
A lot of people was getting on him. I'm like, that was the first question I was going to ask.
Yes.
That was the first question I was going to ask.
I was thinking, I was rooting for Philadelphia, but it's still right over the bridge, so it's close, but.
Is it boarding school or is it?
It's going to be residential initially. The long-term goal is to be residential.
Okay.
It's going to be a day school, but then we're going to evolve to a residential campus.
Okay.
When you go residential, you kind of need 3, 4, 5 times the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the children are there 24 hours a day. So there's the possibility that the second school building, because we have 2 schools right across the street from each other, the second school could be a dorm, but I have a funny feeling I'm going to need all that space for classrooms. I expect us to grow exponentially because what we offer, nobody else is really giving. So there won't be no out-of-school suspension because it doesn't make sense to send kids home to single mothers who can't do anything with them in the first place. And many times the mother isn't there because she got to work 2 and 3 jobs. So what is the purpose of sending them home? Yeah. Out-of-school suspension is actually a reward more than a punishment. So there will be no out-of-school suspension. We will handle most of the academic remediation in-house. A lot of the subjects that they're going to be taught are totally non-traditional. In terms of martial arts in school, a lot of children don't get that. Farming in school, a lot of children don't get that. Aquaponics, the agriculture, the archery, the gun shooting. We're going to have a Marcus Garvey gun club where they get their own gun and they will have to take care of their own gun. Wow. And everything is in accordance, with state law.
Sounds like boot camp.
Oh, it will be a boot camp. It will be a black male boot camp that prepares you for the rest of your life.
No, listen, I went to the Army. I mean, I think the boot camp portion, outside of the brainwashing, just being honest, I think was a great experience because you learn camaraderie, you learn how to work with people you may not like or agree with, and also the discipline, right? To get up every day, get up early. And I mean, it's something I had. Like my dad was something else, but I appreciate you, Pop, if you're listening. And like, don't talk about me on the air, but nah, Mr. Edward, I appreciate you. I really do. But yeah, just that dynamic, man. So. Let me ask you a question. So me and a buddy of mine, this is a question from a buddy of mine who's actually he's a professor of mathematics. He's a brother, but like a brother, not a brother that pretends to be a brother. He had a question around what are the dynamics with the administration, because with charter schools, and I know you've noticed this,
I was a charter school person.
there's been a lot of like, and I don't want to say no names, but there's a few charter schools where there's administrations with no men, zero, and there's no balance.
Well, I agree with that. That you got to have males on your administration. But if I had to choose between black males in my administration or black males in my classroom, I'm going to choose the classroom.
That's fair.
Because if you go across the school district of Philadelphia, though most black males, a significant portion of them are in administration, but they're not in the classrooms.
Yeah.
You see, and a lot of principals I've worked with in the school district of Philadelphia, they basically stay in their offices. They're not the type that go around, visit classes, get to know the students. You only see them when you get in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not all their fault, because big school districts that are predominantly black, like Philadelphia, they use their black male principals as disciplinarians. So the average black male principal in Philadelphia was not hired for academic reasons. They were hired to keep the Negro boys in line. You know, which is kind of discriminatory in a way too, because what happens is, let's say you want to be the principal at Masterman, or you want to be the principal at Central. You may never get that as a black male, even if you're qualified, because they rather put you at Strawberry Mansion, or they rather put you at Gratz. You understand? Or they rather put you at William Penn, which is no longer there. But they use the strong black males for disciplinary reasons. Even when I was a school psychologist with the school district, they would always put me in the schools that the white women were afraid to go to, the white school psychologists. You know, and they would pull me from a school that I had built a relationship with. One time we had a German immigrant, a white German female school psychologist, and they pulled me from a school that I had built a relationship with and gave her the school. And they told me out front, we're giving her that school because the other school is too dangerous for her to travel to. White privilege.
You signed up for the job.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's like being drafted.
Exactly.
You signed
But
up
because she was a white woman,
Yeah.
they put her in the schools they thought were the safest.
Interesting.
Interesting. So we have open to talk about everything and anything, not everything, but we can talk about our black youth and this R. Kelly stuff, or because Cardi B, and not to take away,
Cardi B
had
is not a
came.
representation of black people.
No, she's not. But she
Okay.
came out with she had drugged. She came out and said this was an old video. Apparently, this was an old video that resurfaced that she had drugged and stolen. Once they were asleep, she had stolen money from. So social media had started dragging her. So and her defense was that I was poor, I was young, I did what I had to do to survive. And I'm like, okay, at that time, there was no Cardi B so you didn't have to support anybody. There was not like you had a mouth to feed. So why are you drugging? Her response was, these were the people that she dated and they knew. I don't honestly believe that some guy would allow you to drug him to get the money in lieu of R. Kelly, and then you got all these other black people who are now in jail, and then you come up with this one that apparently resurfaced. Now she's defending. So, but I know Cardi B doesn't, she's not a great representation, but I threw that out there because you got R. Kelly, and I get that part. R. Kelly was doing stuff for years. You got Bill Cosby, who allegedly claimed that he drugged somebody, and then here's Cardi B, and she's still being idolized. And I have an issue with people idolizing people like her after they said, hey, this is what I've done. And then you got Bill Cosby sitting up in jail.
Well, unfortunately,
Yeah, I want to hear what he got.
Yeah.
the Cardi B situation, she's symbolic of the mentality of Black America. She's being dragged, but not being dismissed, because we celebrate negativity. I mean, she's a living reality show. Her life is a living reality show. So Cardi B will always be relevant because she is so sensationalized and her content is so negative and so conflictual. It's why the reality shows are popular, because they're based on negativity. Every single show is conflict. And that's where Black America is now. You go down your Facebook feed, your Twitter feed, your Instagram feed, you go on YouTube, 85% of the content is based on gossip, sensationalism, and negativity. The black media, for me, has fallen from grace, because I remember once upon a time the black media's job was to have serious, conversations like we're doing now. That's no longer the job of the black media. The black media used to be an institution that advocated change, It investigated. It brought information to black people that was being hidden. It exposed racism. It took up serious issues: mass incarceration, police genocide, unemployment, the wealth gap. Look at black media now. It chases celebrity gossip. It chases professional sports. It chases who won the lottery, who got robbed at the gas station. Not to say that that's not relevant, but what about the systematic issues that impact black life? What happened to the black media's responsibility to educate and advocate? I see very little education from the black media, very little advocacy. Even if I pick up the Jet, I pick up, Ebony, even some of our more respectable black publications. A lot of it is filled with satire, media gossip, and celebrity chasing. Very few strong, qualitative articles are being written now. Everybody's just after sensationalism, and it's a shame because we are probably in the worst state we've been in since the Jim Crow era. The only thing worse than this is slavery. The only thing worse than this is slavery, and everybody will jump on Trump, but you got to jump on Barack Obama too, because Barack Obama created the context that allowed the black conversation to be removed from the table. Barack Obama is the first president in American history who black people didn't ask to do a single thing for them. He made history that way. And so when people say, well, Donald Trump has brought forth this new wave of white hate against black people. No, Barack Obama triggered the new wave of white hate against black people because white people knew he would do absolutely nothing and say absolutely nothing in defense of black people while he fervently articulated the agendas of homosexuals. He fervently articulated the agenda of women, and he fervently articulated the agenda of immigrants. He gave the homosexuals 3 laws. Women got 2 laws. Immigrants got 3 laws. Black people didn't get a single law, even though police genocide had came back in a way we hadn't seen since the 60s. So this is not all about Trump. We don't want to be honest about these conversations. This began with Obama. Obama put you to sleep, and Trump was the alarm clock that woke you up.
Do you think that part of it was because of his affiliation with like Goldman Sachs?
I think they had a lot to do with it. But a lot of that is on the economic side. Every president is given some latitude to affect some domestic change. So for example, Barack Obama put out the Brothers Keeper Initiative,
MBK,
which was something that he did, to try to look like he was doing something to address the issues of black males.
There was no money put in that.
Not only that, it didn't address any of the major issues affecting black males. Employment wasn't dealt with at all. A lot of it was mentorship, role modeling. There's nothing wrong with that. But we need economic opportunities. The number one problem affecting black men after police genocide and black-on-black fratricide is economic opportunity. Much of the black-on-black crime that we see is the outgrowth of a pain that grows from the fact that I'm not able to fulfill my obligations as a husband and a father and a man. The job of a man is to protect and provide. I can probably protect, but I'm having a big time providing. We're the only males in America who are out-educated and out-earned by our women. The only men who are out-earned and out-educated
just talking
by
about
the
that this
women.
morning. Wow.
And that's why crime is so rampant, because when the only way you can prove your manhood is to hurt another person, there's going to be crime. See, the white males can sit around and talk about their stocks and their businesses and their multinational corporations, and that's how they prove their masculinity. That's how they validate themselves based on what I own. You understand? Chinese, what I can control. European Jews, what I can make. Black men, who I can kill.
Do you think part of that is linked to trauma?
Absolutely. Post-traumatic slavery disease. We went through 240-something years of the greatest human disaster and crime in history. And after we got out of it in December of 1865 with the 13th Amendment, there was no period of healing. We went straight from the trauma.
I feel like he's getting tapped into my brain right now. No, seriously, we're the only culture. Doesn't matter if you're Caribbean, doesn't matter if you're African, doesn't matter if you're African American. We're the only culture that hasn't got a chance to heal and reconstruct with fervor and fidelity, right? Because there's always been some interference. Like just here in Philadelphia, Society Hill, Old City, it used to be all black.
Yes, South Street used to be all black.
You know what I'm saying? But once they realized the value, because remember, they used to dump their trash and throw their waste down there. So what happened was, oh, wait a minute, this is the same thing like Tulsa. That was the first air attack in U.S. history. Everybody thinks it was here in Philadelphia, which that was messed up too. But the first one was in Little Africa.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
And you know, a lot of this is our responsibility too.
Yeah, agreed.
As a people.
Of those of us that are awake though, because
Yes.
everybody not awake.
No.
But even amongst the woke folks,
Yeah, but woke leaves you
many
broke
of
though.
them are irrelevant too because they don't have any courage or commitment.
Okay.
See, just being woke means nothing.
Okay.
You know, Henry Louis Gates is woke, but there's no courage to challenge the system, and there's no commitment to make things better for your people. You know, I respect Michael Eric Dyson. I respect Cornel West. I respect them. They're woke, but where's the courage and the commitment?
I mean,
what are you changing?
They getting them Ivy League checks. It's different.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, no shade. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, I'm not in that position, so I don't
Right.
know. I don't know how I would behave.
Right.
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 If Harvard or Yale was cutting me a check, I don't know how I behave. I can't say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But everybody has a price. You know
Everybody
what I'm
has a price.
saying?
Wow.
Most
Interesting you
people
said
have a
that.
price.
Most.
Everybody shouldn't have a price. And
I
of
agree.
course, those who didn't have a price, they end up dead. Malcolm, Meg, or Martin.
Yeah. Or hungry.
Or hungry.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But see, you speak to a issue that black people don't like to discuss, and that's sacrifice.
Yeah. But this-
Everything we got, we had to sacrifice for it. Now, the new black leadership has miseducated the youth, and most people don't have a political understanding of our history into believing that voting is the solution to black America's problems. Now, I was a political science major undergrad. You can't name one thing black people got through a vote. Everything we got through armed street protests, struggle, everything. We got out of slavery, we fought. We got out of Jim Crow, we fought. We got the Civil Rights Bill because we fought. We got the Voting Rights Act because we fought. Everything we got, we fought for it. There's not one major thing you can name that black people got with a vote. And because voting is a mechanism put in place to make poor people think they actually have a way to control rich people. Voting is something, democracy in and of itself is a deception. Because it makes people who are powerless think that there's a way to take power from the powerful without armed conflict. You can't name a society in human history where power was taken by anything other than blood. And I'm not advocating open violence, okay, especially not in our predicament, because number one, we love white folks and hate each other, so we'll end up killing each other first. So we have to keep that in mind. Black people are absolutely infatuated with white folks, and we need to get over that. That's why you can't really solve our issues, because whenever you talk about issues, half of the community wants to come to the defense of white people because we were conditioned to do that since slavery. They are our gods, not Jesus, but the white man.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't have a problem painting Jesus white, because it makes so much sense. After all, my personal deity is white. Why shouldn't Jesus be? And so for me, from a psychological standpoint, that white Jesus is a very big problem. But it's ironic, though, that we'll worship a man who sacrificed everything, but we don't want to sacrifice anything. You worship a man who sacrificed everything, but you don't want to sacrifice anything. Black people are a $2 trillion community. $2 trillion. The richest group of Africans on the globe. Our GNP is more than any other African group in the world.
Yeah, but we're rich in things, not in
Exactly.
real economic stuff.
Exactly. Well, there is no collectivism,
Yeah.
because we are a race and a nation of individuals. We're the only people without any cultural glue that holds us together. That's why the Chinese can come and outwork you, do more in 5 years than we've done in 500. That's why the Arabs, the Mexicans, they can come and outwork you in 5 years more than you've done yourself in 500, notwithstanding all of those systematic barriers that have been put in place. So yes, there's racism there, but put the racism to the side. We should still be much further along.
Yeah.
Let's take education.
Yeah.
For example, everybody agrees that the school to prison pipeline is an issue. Everybody agrees that special ed and ADHD and psychiatric meds is an issue. Everybody agrees that the inner city schools are failing. Okay then, the United States government gives you the prerogative to build your own schools.
True.
You are allowed to have your own schools.
Yeah.
So with $2 trillion, spending $2 billion a year on Air Jordan, $4 billion a year on alcohol, over $16 billion a year on weave, perm, and hair care, purchasing twice the amount of Mercedes Benzes as white folks. Black people buy twice the Benzes of white people,
Really?
but you have less than a third of their wealth. Where are the schools? Where are the supermarkets? Where are the hospitals? And where are the banks?
Where are the
Those are the
economists?
4 critical institutions.
Man.
You can find them. There's a little Italy in many states across the country. You'll find a little Italy. You'll find a little China.
A little.
You'll find a little Israel. You've never found a little Africa. And why is that? Because the one thing slavery did, one of the major psychological residuals of slavery, is it made us comfortable, not having any control, any power, any authority over our destiny. Remember, as a slave, you had no control over your destiny. If the slave master wanted to sell you, he could. If you wanted to rape your wife, he could. You had no control over your immediate destiny. And we have been so conditioned into not having no control that we don't want no control. The reason why Black America is not an independent nation is because we don't want the responsibilities that come with independence.
Yeah. Do you think it's fear of success?
I think it's fair to white men. It's fair to white men. Black people don't want to lose their relationships with white folks. So take our celebrity class. Take an Oprah Winfrey, right? Oprah don't need any more money. So she said, so she doesn't have a fear that the white man will take or stop me from making more.
Yeah, but she's still broke in comparison to like Bill Gates.
Oh, she absolutely is. But she's comfortable enough to live her life.
Yeah,
right?
she's comfortable.
The point is, though,
Facts,
she doesn't want to lose the comfortability. The comfortability of being able to come and go in the upper echelon of white society. You follow me? So there's nothing financial that she fears. She fears losing the positive attitude that white people have about her.
Yeah, almost like the when you move to a place and you're the only you're the only chip in the cookie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you grow accustomed to a certain lifestyle. I think that's part of the reason that Bill Cosby got caught up, because Bill Cosby, I believe, as intelligent as he is, and I had the opportunity to hear him speak live, it was a very brilliant speech. I believe Bill Cosby began to think that because he had made it to a certain socioeconomic level, that white supremacy would somehow treat him differently. And one of the biggest lessons as a people we have yet to learn is white supremacy does not put Black people in categories. It likes to make you think you're in a different category. For example, in the Haitian Revolution, Napoleon told the whites in Haiti during the revolution, he said, treat the mulattoes, the mixed race Africans, treat them better, make them think you view them as differently than the unmixed blacks. But in your own self, know that they are no different. This is only a strategy that we're using to sow discord, mistrust, and jealousy amongst the two groups. They did it all in Africa. They do it in Black America with the light skin, dark skin, educated, non-educated. The white man doesn't see Barack Obama any differently than me. He don't see Oprah Winfrey no differently than her, but they will treat them differently to give a false sense of security under the white reality until they no longer need you. Bill Cosby would not be in jail if they still had a reason to exploit his talents for the American economic order. O.J. Simpson would have never went to jail if he was still relevant economically. Why do we see LeBron James being under attack somewhat now with the Lakers not making the playoffs? It ain't because the Lakers didn't make the playoffs. It's because LeBron James has that HBO show, that barbershop show, where he talks about some serious issues, including race. And so he's showing the world that I know I'm Black. And you're doing this in LA? They don't like that out there. That's why LeBron James is under attack. When you are no longer in economic reality, they will toss you back to the same ghetto you came from.
And Akron is a rough place. I spent a lot of time. I had a good friend that went to University of Akron, friend of Dia. I don't know if you ever rode through Akron.
Oh, I've been through Akron.
But it's worse than Cleveland.
Yeah.
So I think by him building a school, man, that shows social responsibility.
Well, he didn't build a school.
Okay.
The school is a public school. It's an Akron public school.
Okay.
But what LeBron is doing, which I support and appreciate, he's providing incentives for the children who attend the school and their parents. So he's going to pay for them to go to college, and he's going to pay for the parents to go to college. But it's an Akron public school. He did not build a school. And to that point, and I'm a big supporter of LeBron because I believe he's been more vocal on political issues affecting Black people than either Kobe or Mike put together. So from that perspective, he is the GOAT. Because Michael Jordan never spoke up in defense of Black people, nor did Kobe Bryant. At least LeBron.
Well, you know why he ain't speak up.
Yeah.
You know why he didn't speak up. But
without question, without question. But my issue with LeBron, Sean Puffy Combs, Jalen Rose, and others is you guys are millionaires. Why are you opening up charter schools?
The question was raised
why does
before.
a millionaire need a welfare check? A charter school to a millionaire is a welfare check. It's a public school. You don't control it. The state runs it. You understand? You are given some freedom to modify the learning process.
Yeah.
But a charter school, at the end of the day, is state property.
You don't have full control. Yeah.
Why would you not start the Sean Puffy Combs, Academy for Art or whatever? At least you own it.
Yeah.
Put it in a trust. It's yours forever. But these celebrities open up charter schools, to me, and I don't want to be too critical of them, it sends a message that you're not really serious about the undertaking because you're not risking your money.
Do you think they understand?
I think they understand to some degree. I think they know that they don't own this. Like if you look at the so-called LeBron James school, right? And I only say so-called because it's a public school, not his.
Yeah.
It's mostly white women teaching in it. Why is it not mostly black males? Because it's a public school. If it was a LeBron school, I'm sure LeBron would have put all black males in there, but you got mostly white women in that school.
Wow.
So how is that going to be any different than any of the other schools? Because everyone knows that the major issue affecting the black boy trying to get an education is the white racist female teacher, which never gets discussed. When you read these articles about the school district and how kids are struggling and the test scores are low and they don't know how to sit still, nobody's talking about why. That white woman in that classroom is there to pay her bills. She is not there because of those children. Most of them are there because they couldn't get a job in the suburbs, they're on the waiting list, or they got that Obama loan forgiveness program where you spend 5 years in the ghetto and they pay off all your student loans. And that's why the good white teachers, if you pay attention to it, after 5 years, they always disappear. You say, what happened to Mrs. Slurbanowski and Mrs. Sandusky and Dr. Silverberger?
You're out of pocket.
I've heard that one.
I say, what happened to that good white English teacher, that good white math teacher? She was only here for 5 years because she was only here to get her loans paid. She didn't care about them kids.
Yeah, she didn't.
And let me make this announcement because I think it's relevant. In Delaware, in Wilmington, where the school is, we're going to be hosting the National Independent Black Parent Association Advocacy and Parent Training course. So any black person, you don't have to be a parent, any black person in America who wants to get trained by me, school law, special ed procedure, discipline process, how to write letters, how to deal with the school, everything from ADHD to learning disability to autism to vaccinations to immunizations to report cards to reading standardized test scores. I'm going to teach them everything from A to Z that they need to know to be an effective advocate for their child.
When is this class?
This is June 8th and 9th,
June 8th.
Saturday and Sunday,
Okay.
June 8th and 9th in Wilmington, Delaware from 9 to 5.
9 to
Anyone
5.
can register at my website, drumarjohnson.com, drumarjohnson.com. And we're going to go through everything. After you come out of those 2 days, there's nothing the school can throw at you that you won't be able to deal with. You will be taught that if you don't agree with the psychological evaluation, you have a federal right to an independent educational evaluation. Most parents don't know this. So when they come back and say your child has a reading disability, if you don't agree, you have a right to a second opinion, and the school district pays for the second opinion.
Yeah, is that some of the stuff that fell under the No Child Left Behind Act?
Nah, this is
No.
separate. No Child Left Behind is a federal law that encompasses special ed, but does not regulate special ed. Special ed is its own separate federal law,
Gotcha.
which is known as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act of 2004. It was last revised by former President George W. Bush. I'm assuming it may be revised again under Donald Trump or maybe the next president. But special ed law, it's a very thick law because you got to remember you got 13 disabilities. You got deaf, blind, autism. Most presidents don't really want to deal with it if they can. You know what I mean? Because that was 04 and this is now 19, so it's been 15 years without a revision. And that's because special ed is real political and it's very technical. So for example, mental giftedness. We remember the MG kids? Mental giftedness used to be a part of special ed. It was taken out back in 2000 to 2004. They took it out. And one of the reasons they took it out is to defund it. See, special ed is a business. So I'm a school psychologist, right?
There's no money in the cure.
Oh, there's no money in the cure. Money in the problem. So let's say I evaluate your son, reading disability, right? His name goes into a computer. He gets transferred to Harrisburg State Department of Education. And by the end of the month, there's an electronic transfer of funds to the school. Special ed is a hustle. Special ed is a right. These black boys in West Philly are not sitting in special ed to get help. They are sitting in special ed so the school can exploit the fact that they didn't teach them into a welfare check by the end of the month. Special ed is the biggest racket in America.
Yeah, it's an extra, I think, because I know the per pupil allocation in Philadelphia, I believe, is $14,500.
Right.
And
so
then
special ed kids almost 30.
Yeah, it's like 50. That's crazy.
It's
So the
almost
money
you get
doubles.
Yes.
So you're almost getting the money that you be getting out in Lower Merion.
Yes.
That's deep.
Exactly.
Because I think Lower Merion is 26.
Yeah. And that's why they don't like. And speaking of Lower Merion, I was part of a class action lawsuit out there where I evaluated some children at Lower Merion High School. Kobe Bryant went, and we had a situation out there where those white folks was putting black kids in special ed who had A's and B's. Like I'm evaluating this kid. Like, wait a minute, her report card is A's and B's.
Yeah.
Her test scores is 85th percentile.
Yeah.
What is she doing in special ed? And the white folks would say, well, she was struggling. You cannot put a child in special ed unless there is clear evidence that they have trouble learning that skill in the regular class, which speaks to another issue. Yeah. A lot of black parents think that they're doing their child a favor by taking them out the ghetto and putting them in the suburbs. Yeah. Guess what? They're more likely to be special educated in the suburbs. Yeah. They're more likely to be put on psychiatric meds in the suburbs because guess what? Number one, the suburb schools never wanted those black kids. How dare you move out here?
Shellingham High School.
You follow what I'm saying?
Shellingham High School. You see what's going on there. Yeah. You know, it's a hot mess, and I think it's very sad. I mean, she knows this. So I raised one of my siblings' kids, right? And they went to public school. You know, they went to Anna Lingelbach. You know, I think they do a good job. They do what they can, right? But a lot of the old regime is there, the ones that care about kids. But when they came home, every Wednesdays and Thursdays, it was, you know, time with your uncle, eyes on the prize.
That's right.
Hidden Colors, which you're in.
Right.
Shameless plug. And just whatever I can get my hands on, right? That was interactive, right? Yeah. During the summers, when you got home from tennis camp and golf camp, not basketball and football camp, right? Because we have to elevate we got to elevate them. Yeah. They had to write essays.
Yes.
Right? You had to write an essay. You had to proofread your essay, and then you had to type it and email it to me. See what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We got to. So I get a lot of your philosophy. It makes sense, but like, if you're emotional about it, you're not going to catch the message.
The problem that some black parents have with my philosophy is it doesn't allow them to blame the schools or the kids. The problem that the white teachers have with my philosophy is it clearly places a large part of the burden on their racist attitudes toward their children. Black educators have a problem with my philosophy because they don't like the fact that I say that just because you're preparing kids for college, that's not enough. Because it's not enough.
Yeah, they need more than that. You need to be able to work with your hands.
You know why they started redirecting black children to college? It was part of the whole deindustrialization of the inner city. Yeah. In the 1970s, when they started taking the factories out of Philadelphia, they started taking all of the industrial building trade programs out of Dobbins and out of all these high schools. Because remember, up until 1970, the education was not college prep. It was industrial. Yeah. It was plumbing. It was architecture. It was cosmology. Yeah. It was the auto mechanic. It was welding. It was woodworking. It was practical skills so you could pay your bills.
Yeah, basic computer stuff. You can leave. Yes. They said at one point you can leave Dobbins or Bach and get a job like a week later.
License.
That's you took your state board before you graduated. That's crazy. Right? Yeah. Not no more. Yeah. Not no more. Now everybody goes to college. You want to know why? Because a college degree does not automatically equal any type of employment because the knowledge is intellectual. It's not practical. If you go to a trade school, right? You're certified plumber, carpenter, you know how to do something with your hands. You can literally create something with your hands, a tangible product that you can sell to somebody. I can fix your car, I can fix your roof, I can fix your toilet, and you can pay me. You can exchange skill, right? Yeah. For money. But when you get a college degree, you have a bachelor's in sociology. You have a bachelor's in political science. You have a bachelor's in history. 4 years, $80,000 in student loan debt. How can you exchange that knowledge on the street legally to pay a bill? Yeah, who do you see walking down the street? Anybody need any sociology information? Anybody need any psychology information? Anybody need any archaeology information? Think about it.
Anthropology.
You cannot exchange that information for a paycheck nowhere.
Listen, Doc, I'm about to sell this anthropology.
You see. So then you go back to college to get your master's. Yeah. And then you find out that you're still not yet well qualified.
And if you don't have any social capital, you can't get in the rooms.
Yeah. Exactly. So you got a lot of people who go in this circle, 3, 4, 5 degrees, only to find out that they were never going to hire you anyway.
Anyway.
Look at the black middle class. Do you know why we even have a black middle class? Really, we don't have one. But the reason why you have an artificial one is because the government hires black people to give the illusion of upward mobility. Most black middle class people are public employees, post office, bus driver, school teacher, city government, police. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because downtown white business, they're not hiring you. It's the government that hires college-educated blacks to give the illusion of a black middle class. If the government said, we can't afford to hire any more black people in our public sector jobs, teachers, cops, firemen, civil service jobs, traffic ticket givers, security at the airport. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah. If they decided that they wasn't hiring any more of those service jobs, black people would be hungry. There would be no black middle class. And it's a misnomer anyway, because class speaks to what? Ownership of wealth. What do black people own? Which is why they redefine class. Class is no longer, do you know the new definition of class? Class no longer includes your ownership of wealth. Yeah. Right?
But wealth.
Class now is education and occupation. Yeah. It is not income.
Yeah, but wealth is not built in, first of all, well, to your point.
It's intergenerational.
Yeah, you can't build wealth in one generation. And I have this argument with folks that look like us all the time. And like, well, I'm trying to get wealthy, wealth is health, hashtag, especially, millennial folks. People try to couple me into that, but I was born before 85. I ain't no damn money. Anyway, so it's really interesting, the dynamics behind that when you have that conversation with people, particularly if, they started creating the wealth now, but you're not wealthy, you're rich. Right.
Exactly. You're rich and not wealthy.
Yeah. It's a huge difference.
Rich people can only do one thing with their money: spend it. Yeah. Wealthy people are people who earn income off of their assets without having to work. Wealth gives you unearned income. Yeah. Riches, you can only exchange that for a product or a service.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right? Or Benz.
So you see these goofy ass rappers with 25 cars. Automobiles depreciate with value.
As soon as you
take it off the lot.
$100,000 cars. In 5 years, they'll be worth almost nothing anymore. Yeah. You see, but because we're so caught up in the bling bling culture, we love to invest in things that have no return on them. The chains, the clothes. Think about it. The stuff that black people, the pocketbooks. $2,500 for a Louis Vuitton bag?
Do you know they burn their, so I found this out like 2 months ago. So they burn every year when they're done with that line or whatever.
They burn their pockets.
They burn them.
Yeah.
That, they don't, like no factory store or nothing.
Yeah.
Just,
when they do that to keep the value up, because the less you have in circulation,
the more expensive
valuable it is. Yeah. And it's sad because when I go to Africa, because we are the leaders, we are the, what do you want to call this? We are the fad leaders of the entire race. We're the I don't want to call it culture. What do you want to popular culture leaders? Every black person in the world is looking at black America to decide what's hot and what's not. Yeah, that's literally.
That's right.
Literally. They emulate the way you wear your hair. They emulate the way you dress, your music, the whole nine. Yeah. So when we don't get our act together, we're not only affecting us, we're affecting the whole race.
Yeah, we are.
Black kids in Jamaica want to do what you're doing. Yeah. Black kids in South Africa want to do what you're doing. So everybody watches us. Yeah. And they create their culture based off of what we're doing. And we don't even know what the hell we're doing. So imagine
we don't.
It's the blind following the blind.
And it's sad.
The blinder.
But it's sad.
A part of this sickness that we got grew out of the fact that the hip hop industry created a whole bunch of overnight millionaires, which upset the natural age differential and respect ladder in the black community. So from an African culture, the elders get the most respect. Yeah. They dictate the policy, right? Yeah. You don't see that no more in the black community. Why? Because in traditional times, the elders controlled the wealth. They decided who got the land, who got the cattle, who got married to whose granddaughter. But with the rise of hip hop, the young African-American millionaire, who might not be rich, but at least acts like it, guess what? When the youth became the income generators, the respect paid to the elders dropped off. So now Lil Wayne's opinion is more important than a 100-year-old African-American elder because Lil Wayne makes more money than she does. And because we live in a society that values money over culture and respect and honor, the rappers are the de facto black bourgeoisie now. Because guess what? For the first time, we don't have black leaders. Do you realize?
We don't.
Do you realize?
We don't.
That this is the first time in African American history you are without an identified leader. And guess what made Jesse and Al and the Congressional Black Caucus and the NAACP and the Urban League irrelevant? Police genocide. When the black youth saw how they responded to Freddie Gray, and when the black youth saw how they responded to Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, the black youth saw that these guys ain't real. They have no solution for genocide. You can't vote away police genocide. You can't march it away. So that automatically exercised a lot of them away from that platform of being a leader. So right now, you don't have a single identified leader. That could be a good thing because it means you automatically have to force up a whole new breed. That the dictatorship that Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and even Minister Farrakhan to some extent had over black leadership has now faltered. And so now there's an opening for a new leadership. But white supremacy doesn't leave anything to chance. So guess what they're doing? They're filling the leadership vacuum with celebrities and entertainers.
They sure enough are.
Have you noticed we're the only people whose rappers and actors and basketball players are the actual spokespersons? I love D.L. Hughley. You understand? And I believe the brother is conscious and progressive.
Absolutely.
But he can't be no spokesperson for black folks. You're an entertainer. You understand?
Right.
And the reason why does an entertainer not make a good spokesperson? Because when you're an entertainer, you're in something called show business. Yeah. You depend as much on white people as you depend on black people to do what? Attend your shows. Do you know most rap is bought by white kids?
Of course.
You see that? So how can a rapper be our spokesperson when if you say the wrong thing, they might not buy another one of your albums? So there's a significant conflict of interest. But because we have no leaders, the athletes are now the new leaders and the rappers are the new spokespersons.
So I agree with you. Like, it's 50-50 for me. I do think there's leaders out here. I don't.
Say it again.
What?
Now, I'm not speaking on the community-based level.
Okay.
I'm speaking on the national black leadership.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you then.
Yeah, we don't have any.
But let's go to the community-based level.
Sure.
You have a lot of community-based levels. But for me, coming from a Marcus Garvey perspective, total independence, you cannot qualify as a leader if you're being financed by the government or white philanthropy.
Yep.
So, for example, if you name somebody in the community in Philadelphia who's doing some good, I can respect them as an agent of change. But I cannot respect them as a leader because one of my qualifications for leadership is economic independence. So if you have a Stop the Violence program doing good things, I will salute you as an agent of change. You cannot be my leader because your bread and butter comes from white people. And that is a significant conflict of interest.
Because you can only say but so much and do but so much.
Because a black man or black woman who is financed by the power structure, who claims to be a leader, is a leader waiting to be corrupted or co-opted. There's no way you can stay true when you're being paid by them.
Yeah, if you're.
Because what's the first thing they go after? Your livelihood.
Yep.
That's the first. Which is why all great leaders had to be what? Independent. Malcolm was independent. King was independent. Medgar was independent. There's no way in hell you're going to have to be the manager at Walmart and you out here taking on police genocide. It's just not going to work. Which, when you go back to entrepreneurship, that makes entrepreneurship a revolutionary necessity. It's not even an option. It's a necessity. The only reason why I can speak the way that I speak is because I'm independent.
Nobody controlling you.
I suffer because of it. But guess what? The freedom of speech, I would never give it back. Because when I'm on these panels with all these bourgeois college Negroes, they looking like he right, but I can't co-sign
I can't co-sign it.
You see what I'm saying?
We had an issue like that the other night. I like this brother, so I'm not going to put him on blast. But I was at a meeting uptown, right? And this dude said that gentrification had nothing to do with race.
What?
It's a big article, a big stink in the paper about that.
Does he even know how ghettos were created?
I broke it down in front of him a little bit, but I kept it real high level.
What?
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's a big stink going on right now in Philadelphia, and it's treading in the papers.
And it's not local; it's national.
Yeah.
Harlem.
Yes.
Remember Bill Clinton after he got out of office, he moved into
Clayton Powell. Yeah.
To raise the property value and force the poor blacks out, they used Jay-Z when they built the Barclay Center to displace all those blacks. But don't get me wrong; I don't think at the time he knew. You understand? But this is what they do. They are. North Philly, where we grew up, look at it now. Them Temple students own it.
Oh, they own it. Yes, they're ripping right through
I can't
there.
even recognize this is the neighborhood I grew up in.
Yes.
When you see a white woman pushing an infant in a stroller at 2 o'clock in the morning with no lights, you know white folks are back.
Yes.
They are back.
Yes. Yes. That is treading heavy.
Remember, they only left because we moved in.
Yep.
Remember?
Now it's time to move
so
us
they
out.
moved out to these suburbs, right?
Yeah.
And then we made a big mistake.
Moved out
When the
there.
white we moved out there.
We
right
moved
after.
out. Yep.
If we would have left them alone, they would have left us alone. But once we moved out there, the white man said, well, you know what? If these Negroes love us so much, they're going to go wherever we go.
We're
lure
going to
'em
go
out,
back. Yep.
Bring Section 8 out here, and we're going to swap.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they
about
did.
every 30 years that happens. That's why I think the law in 1901 for adverse possession was created here. Well, 2 reasons: because of yellow fever,
Right.
and typhoid,
Yeah.
which the great
I heard about
Dr.
that.
Allen solved.
Yes,
because
Richard Allen, amen.
those pilgrims or whatever you
Yeah.
want to call them, they were gross.
Yeah.
It's called
But
what it is.
also,
Yeah.
they never intended for black people to be near the economic centers of the major cities.
Gotcha.
That was just a byproduct of great migration. It was a byproduct of white flight. They never intended the ghetto to be 4 sub-stops from City Hall because it's an eyesore on the government.
Yeah.
So when white people tour the city, they're like, wait a minute.
DC was the same way. Remember?
Yes,
Yeah,
all the
DC.
major
Yeah,
cities.
the hood was
Because
right
we
there.
All of
moved
them.
near the economic center so we could find work.
Yeah, that or where our kids go to school.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things I brought up. I said, nobody can answer this question. I was like, where do most black, brown, and poor people in general, where do they live?
Yeah.
Everybody looked at me with this, by school, work, or church.
Exactly. Exactly.
North Philly, Mount Airy, right? Well, I'll say East Mount Airy and East
Yeah,
Germantown
I got
because
you.
they're 2 different
Yeah.
places, right?
I got you.
Most of the people, they live where? By their kids' elementary school, right? By Germantown High School that's now closed, right? It was sold for $100,000. We ain't gonna say who did it.
Right.
Y'all do the research because I don't want to get no controversy.
Who owns it? Do we have it?
No, we do not have it.
It's not because somebody texted me the other day and say black people just bought Germantown High School.
No, sir.
That's not true.
No, sir. It was just a meeting.
$100,000. I could have bought Germantown High School.
You could have, yeah.
But when I was trying to check into it, they wasn't getting back to me.
Oh wow.
They blacklisted. They
Yeah.
them properties they keep. They don't want black people to own that.
Yeah.
Because if Germantown High School was $100,000, I had that.
Yeah, that was-
We had
yeah.
750,000. I could have bought Germantown
Yeah.
High.
Yeah.
But they would have never sold
outright.
it to me. They would have never
Sold it to you.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Because what you would bring, and there's a special energy in Germantown. That's why I live there.
Who owns it though? Not the person, but what community? Like, was it
I
the
had the
Jews?
flyer.
Is it the Amish? Is it the German? Like, who? Is it a corporation?
I'll get back to you on
I'm
that
gonna give you
offline.
my. I need to know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
because I thought it was us. Somebody texted me and said, I said, black folks. In fact, they said they got Germantown High School for free. I said,
I mean,
That's
100,000
not-
that damn
that-
near is free.
That is, but
Have
you
you
said
seen
it-
that
but you
building?
said it now. I know. I've been in there.
Bro, I mean, I love like those
It's a
schools. I
castle.
love
It's a
those
kingdom.
schools.
I
Like
love 'em too.
Germantown, Bach.
Yeah.
I mean, I love those
Castle
buildings,
on the
right?
hill.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like,
But you
They're
saying
cheap.
we don't own it? Wasn't
We
us
don't
who
own
bought
it.
that.
we gave it away.
But listen,
We gave it
Yeah,
away, but we don't own
we'll
it.
give it away.
say it again. Say it again.
We gave it away, but we don't own it.
What you mean we gave it away?
We gave it away, but we don't own it.
How did we give it away? We didn't own it. It was the
I
school
gotta
district.
tell you, if not, I won't be.
Off
Okay,
the
okay,
air.
I'm pissed now.
I want no
Because I
problem.
could have had Germantown. I mean, I love
I want no
Lamette,
problems.
but we could have had Germantown. You know,
Yeah.
you can house every community organization in there and still have a school. You can have a supermarket on one floor, the school on the second floor.
Nope.
Bruh,
It's that
a
huge.
homeless shelter and
Home
one
and
area, that place is
everything.
that. He's
What are they
right.
going to use it for?
They were talking about redeveloping it into like maybe like a grocery store, and then people were like no. Then they said something about condos. People was like hell no. And Fulton School's closed too.
Okay. The
If
condos
school?
will be gentrification.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
gonna be it.
The condos will.
That's the only thing it
It's
can
a
be.
setup. It smells like a setup.
For
we
dirt
gonna
cheap?
rap.
Yeah.
We gonna rap.
Yeah.
But you just brought up another
I'm still
point.
I'm still under somebody's thumb from
I
9
got
to
you,
5,
got
so
you.
I don't want no problem.
I got you. We ain't gonna but I need to know that.
Yeah,
I need to know that. But here's the other thing.
yeah.
Here's the other thing. You talked about people living near the schools. If you want to know why they shut down so many schools, to support gentrification. If you want to get rid of black people, you got to get rid of the schools that teach their kids.
You sure
The
enough
reason
do.
why Philadelphia shut down so many kids because I got to get you out of here. If your kids are still here,
23
you won't move. So if I shut the school down,
Nope.
you got to move.
23 schools.
One of the biggest ways to gentrify the
Sad.
black community is to open up a charter school. That's how white folks are getting us out the ghettos. They go into a black community, they find a black person to front the school, but the application is owned by a white person. You go around and say, hey, we got a new charter school, it's gonna help black boys, we're gonna have this and we're gonna have that. Then guess what? They hire all these white folks to teach. The white folks move into the neighborhood around the school. Black people don't say anything. Why? Because who's gonna have a problem with their child's teacher living on the same block? That's a good thing, right? But you fail to realize this is a strategy to raise the property tax value, force you to sell your house. So 10 years after the charter school opened, you can't even afford to live in that neighborhood no more. Charter schools have been used in black communities to whitewash the neighborhoods.
You know, Chester has 2 charter schools.
Chester Community Charter.
Chester prime real estate.
Chester has 2 high. Chester has 2 charter schools and 1 high school. They closed down the Catholic school, and pretty much I think there's maybe 2 other.
You got Chester High.
And that's it.
Then there's like 2 or 3
2 other elementary schools, and that's it.
Chester Community Charter.
And then there's 2 of them, one on the east side, one on the west side, and then they.
That whole district is going to be chartered.
And it's kind of sad because it's just
Remember now, the United States Constitution does not give you a right to learn. The word education is not in the Constitution, but it's in the Pennsylvania state Constitution. Education is a state right.
Yeah,
it is not a constitutional right.
But federal
the United
interest,
States Department of Education was founded in 1980, 1981. Yeah. It's only, 40 years old, 30 years old? Yeah. And there's a lot of white folks who want to get rid of it. They say, why is my taxes paying for a service that my Constitution does not require? More than half of the white people in America either don't have kids or don't send their kids to public school. And they don't want to pay public school taxes. Public school is a thing of the past. I give you 30 more years. It's over. It's going to be all charter and all independent. And then once they charterize the entire district, they're going to start charging tuition. It's going to go from charter to tuition. When there's no longer a public school option, you will have to pay to go to school, which is what it used to be like before compulsory education. Go back in America's history. The churches started the schools, right? And then you had to pay a tuition to go to the church schools, and then the private schools grew up as a reaction to church control of education. You had to pay, and then compulsory ed came. And compulsory ed came only because the factories demanded a better educated low-wage earner. We didn't get compulsory ed for kids. We got compulsory ed so when you go work for Pepsi, you know how to read the damn signs and read the you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, now high school is so you can think on your feet. A lot of people don't. People don't know that. Like literally, that's basically what it was for initially.
Exactly.
But for me personally, I'm a product of public education.
Me too.
And but I had some great teachers.
Me too.
But
that was a different kind of teacher.
Yeah.
This now.
Yeah.
My favorite teacher. I went to Meade Elementary School, 18th and Oxford. My favorite teacher was Miss Robinson, 5th grade. Miss Mack was my 4th. My white teacher in 6th grade was Miss Lube. She was good. I went to Beaver Junior High out here, 59th and Malvern. Mr. Morlitz, just retired 2 years ago. Wow. White guy, damn good teacher. Yeah. I remember all my teachers because they was good.
Yeah.
That ain't what you got now.
Yeah, I got those.
These young teachers, you see how they dress? They will go into class like they going to the club.
To the club.
Breast out, mini skirt. And guess why they can do that? Because there's no dress code in public education.
I ain't gonna lie, I might have paid more attention in class though.
Hey. I tell teachers all the time, the reason why he fell in that class is because he's watching that ass.
Yeah, he sure enough is. You know.
I don't know, because Miss Jackson, she will hate me for this, but Miss Jackson was fine. That was my 6th and 7th grade history teacher.
Did you learn anything besides her?
It don't matter. I got D's and A's in her class. I think that's all that matters.
Well, the other thing, too, the education system in America has been very dumbed down.
Yeah.
Okay?
We're like 29th, I think, right? In math.
America is 3rd from the bottom of the 25 most industrialized nations education index.
That's crazy.
The only reason why education is so important
it doesn't have to be that way either.
It's a political issue. Yeah. People love it. It sounds good, right? Yeah. It makes people think you care about the kids. And there's a lot of money in education. Books, tests, supplies, education.
Ask Texas.
Exactly.
Because you know where most of our textbooks come from, right?
Texas.
Books.
And VA in Texas lead the nation for the worst outcomes for black kids too. Pennsylvania, this is like Texas. This is North Texas.
But we got to understand something. Texas was after the Emancipation Proclamation, which does not mean free. Texas still had people enslaved for 2 extra years. Well, enslaved for 2 extra years. Also, Jersey was one of the last states in the Union to give up slavery. I would never live in Jersey, bro. I can't
Wait a
do
minute
it.
now. Jersey was in the Union though.
But it was one of the last states. I mean, you don't gotta believe me. Just look it up.
Okay. Well, it may have been one of the last Union states.
Yeah.
But it was the border states, Delaware, Missouri, Kentucky, that still had the slaves on the Civil War. But Jersey may have been one of the last of the original.
And in the Union too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jersey got a horrible school system.
But people run to Jersey. People, especially the suburbs.
I always say, if you want to know how much of people respects themselves, look at how they let other people treat their kids. There's no way you're going to tell me black people are proud of who they are, and we send our kids to white folks. Even bougie blacks send their kids to white folks. They'll pay for it, but they still send them to white folks. I got a problem right now. I'll give y'all some self-disclosure. My 7-year-old baby girl, right?
But you got 2 daughters.
I
Right?
got 2 daughters, 16 and 7.
Ooh, we gotta go buy guns.
The girl's hot. But my baby girl, her mom got her up at Friends. White, racist, Quaker, slave-owning ass school. And you got Dr. Umar Baby in there with them crackers. Okay, so I got an issue going on.
You got
I got some post-traumatic slavery disease.
I throw the
You
white
got
flag
my
out.
baby being educated by racists because you value white people in front of your children.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah, it is, but it's true.
And
Sad.
then we think they do a better job teaching our kids. Why? Because the test scores go up. But guess why the test scores go up? You know why the test scores go
Are
up?
they really learning anything in the test
Some of
scores?
them are. See, here's what you got to
It's more
understand.
like muscle memory.
Those kids are the children of rich white folks. They're going to run the business whether they're dumb as a doorknob. They don't have to learn nothing. You understand? I don't have. My father is this. My mother is this. I don't have to take school seriously.
That's all I got to do is say who I am.
I'm getting the CEO job because of blood. This is family. I don't have to excel. But the reason why black kids do better at the white schools is because they're subject to a high quality of vocabulary in English. White people, they speak standard English. In the hood, you don't get that.
No.
So when you take the state test, you're seeing questions and words that you now understand that you didn't understand in North Philly, only because of the quality of the verbal exchange. It is the language that makes the difference.
Yes.
Our children are scoring low for one reason. They don't understand the words and the questions. This is why I say my son got A's and B's, but he's below basic on the state test. The teacher said he's the smartest kid in the class. How did he score below basic? I'll tell you. Your son don't understand the words being used. This is how they get our kids. It's the vocab. And this is why I have such a big problem with black parents who don't control how much TV, video game, and social network that their children consume. Because all those hours of this should have been spent doing this. They should have been reading. And now social network to me is the greatest kryptonite for academic improvement. Because hours we would spend reading is now spent on social
On
network.
social media.
The
Doing
average
nothing.
black child's working vocab is 3 grades beneath their current class standing. So a 12th grade black kid in the hood speaks like a 7th or 8th grader. A 7th or 8th grader got the vocabulary of a 2nd grader. And you wonder why they can't pass the test. And the white man knows we don't make our kids read. So all he says is, you know what? This is a real simple question. But I'm going to ask it with some very complicated words. They could have made it real simple.
Yeah.
But no, I'm going to put this word and this word. And the teacher is not allowed to define the words in the questions. This is in the instructions. You cannot help them understand the question. I'm not helping them answer it. I'm just helping them understand what the word.
Right.
They can't, because they depend on our child's illiteracy to truck them up on them tests.
I want to share something about this. So in Florida, right, where I spent a large part of my childhood, there was actually a test, and because my mother's Haitian, right, so I knew what a saucer was, but there was a test question, right, and it's funny because it came up about 10 years later in an article about racism in tests. And I was like, how can a test be racist? But I thought about it.
Tests were started by racists.
Yes.
I get that part, but I'm talking about.
No, they literally started the test to justify sterilization, extermination, and who would get a gun in the front lines of World War I.
Yeah, the IQ test and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reason why I knew what a saucer was is because my mother had China, my grandmother had China, but that's how I knew. But I'm like, the average kid doesn't know what the hell a saucer is.
Yeah, what is a saucer?
We ate out the pots
Yep.
Hot dogs and beans, you had the pot and the fork.
with the white bread, with the white Wonder
white bread.
going in there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Or I give you a question on an old IQ test. I don't think it's on the current one, so I can. Okay, there's a subtest we give out on the intelligence test where the child has to identify what's missing from the picture.
Okay.
You show a comb with some of the teeth broke, and the question is, what's missing from the comb? Right? Mm-hmm. You're supposed to say the teeth.
What if the kid doesn't use
But in the black house,
We don't
half
have
the
some
teeth
teeth
was
on
missing on the damn top.
So it was normal for
That
us
was
not
what you
to.
see.
Like it's normal for us to have
I'm
that.
telling you, they trip us up in so many ways. Like I give the test, right? I'm 40 years old, 6 degrees. I don't even know some of them words. And I'm testing your kid on words I don't even know?
Damn. That's crazy.
Damn.
The tests are designed to produce a result that was already predetermined should exist. I need y'all to understand this. There's something in testing known as standardization.
Yeah.
Standardization means we're going to test the test before we get it.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
In other words, we're going to come into Philly and we're going to test some of the kids and see how they do on these items. And then based on how they do, guess what we're going to do? We're going to put the items that they got wrong in the final version of the test. I already know how the black kid's going to do on the state PSSA because I already gave them the items last summer. The whole thing is set up. And you got people telling us, hey, we need our kids to do better this year. Negro! This whole thing is set up. The whole thing is a scam. I'm telling you.
You're talking about the Pennsylvania student scam assessment?
Do you say
I like
scam?
that.
Yeah.
And now it's worse.
Because you can't measure talent.
Now I got the graduation test, the Keystone.
Yeah, but you can't measure talent through a
No,
test.
You cannot.
Right? Like.
And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Number one, in my experience,
Yeah.
40% of the variance in a test is due to attitude, interest, motivation, how they felt that day. On top of that,
What if they
reading
hungry?
comprehension,
What if they hungry?
Yeah, hungry.
working vocabulary,
Yeah.
hunger, personal problems, not being able to focus.
Trauma.
So if your child gets an 85, could have had a 95. Other things was going on.
Other things.
Children have more important things to do than learn. It sounds kind of bad to say that, but it's true. I'm
No.
a child.
That's how it is in I think Finland and Switzerland.
Yeah.
So they have the best for young kids, like best scores in the world right now because there's no homework.
Yeah.
You learn while you at school
Yeah.
and you go be a kid, and there's like 2 hours of playtime.
But I do believe in homework.
Depends.
I do believe in homework. You don't get better unless you practice. These schools
I
that
believe in
don't
reading.
give out homework, no, you have to practice the math. You have to practice the language. You have to. These schools that don't give out homework, and there's no research that shows not giving out homework is better than giving out homework.
Okay.
You know why they don't give out homework? Because it's easier for the teachers.
One less
Not
thing
the
I
great
have to
stuff.
do.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's less work. Why are
Ain't no
cyber
accountability.
schools so popular now? Why everybody want to put their kid on the cyber school,
No
right? Leave them at home.
no
learn
accountability.
on the computer. If I open up a cyber school, there's almost no overhead. I don't need no buildings. I don't need no lunch truck. I don't need a security guard. You see that?
Yeah.
All I need is to give everybody a laptop and put a curriculum online.
Yeah, but
and I
you-
keep all the
Yeah,
revenue.
but now you have these kids have no social skills.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
about money.
Yeah.
This ain't about helping no kids.
Yeah.
Especially ours.
Exactly.
Especially
We
ours.
need to open up our
It's kind of sad that, and I'm not gonna lie, I grew up in the '60s, and lived on news, but I was one of those that when I heard Louis Farrakhan, Malcolm X, King, white people, I'm like, oh my God, you can't say that. Like, oh my God, we can't talk bad about them. I grew up like that. I did. No one in my family told me not to. Actually, I never shared it. But I just felt like, oh my God, they're going to think that we don't like them. I didn't know about racism. I never experienced it. I didn't know about slavery until school. Like, I never experienced any of that. Like, me and my grandmother, we traveled. When I was with my mom, we was at family house. So I never, okay. So it wasn't until I got a little older and let me start listening more and more, and I was like, wow, okay, yeah, okay. So now I'm adamant. I don't care if I talk bad or make you feel some kind of way when I say, hey, we ought to be proud of our skin. We are, but I find it interesting that there are people still like me at my age that are still thinking we can't talk bad about white people.
Yeah, but
like they don't like us. Like you can't
I
offend
don't
them.
even call it talking bad about white people. talking honestly
Well,
about white
but they consider talking bad about
people.
them.
Black
You
people
know,
scared of white folks,
yeah,
and they
because
love white folks.
But
yeah.
but here's the thing: we have to, and the comment from the brother last night, right? I think part of it is we have to stop, especially when it's a predominantly black space. We have to stop going out of our way to make white people comfortable in black spaces.
And yes, and that's
my
how
God.
that's,
You have the whole
yeah,
planet.
that's it. That's
Oh
pretty
my
much
gosh.
it.
You
yeah.
have everything
Which
else.
is
You
why
have, yeah.
we should not allow. This is why I believe white people have no place in black organizations or black meetings. For two reasons. Number one, they change the energy of the whole room. Because every black person in that room knows that that white person has more power than they do. You understand? It changes the dynamic. You automatically start watching what you say.
Yeah.
You watch how you behave because you know that they are a representative of the power structure.
Yeah.
And even if they have no power themselves, they can pick up the phone and make a phone call and mess your whole damn life up. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
so whenever there's one white person in a black organization, it throws it off. And if you notice, when the white people come amongst us, they don't come to just be a member. They always assume a leadership role, do they not? Show me a black organization with a white person who is not in some sort of leadership role, financial role, influential role, legal advisor, steering committee. They are never just a regular member. They have to play the white mommy and the white daddy. And that's why they should not be there. Because there's not a white person on earth, not one, who is ever going to jeopardize their own white privilege that they exercise as a result of your oppression. They're never going to destroy that white privilege so they can be treated as an equal with you. White people will do some good things, but they will never do the right thing. And the right thing is to destroy white privilege and white racism. They will never touch it. You cannot name a white person who has ever fought to eliminate white privilege.
But I mean,
never.
But think about it. When you have been flying in a helicopter all your life, right? Now you probably got to fly in a hang glider. But everybody has a hang glider. It doesn't seem fair. You know what I'm saying? Equality or the illusion of
equality is a sin for white folks. Equality is a sin. See, three things black people need to know. This is why we'll never get equality. You can get it, but you got to fight to keep it. Number one, white genetic survival. What is the number one reason why we had segregation in the first place? To keep the black man's phallus out of the white woman's vagina. Because anything the black man touches produces a black child. Anything the black woman touches, we are the only people on earth who have 100% reproductive privilege. Whether you have a baby with a white man, Chinese man, Mexican, Arab, Latino, East Indian, that baby coming out yours. Whether you have a baby with a white woman, Jewish woman, Chinese woman, Arab woman, that baby coming out looking just like you. Right? Let's take Cardi B. She talk about how she not black, right? But she got a beautiful newborn baby by Offset. That baby all Negro, 100% African. Ain't nothing Dominican about that baby. That's us. And that's why they hate us. Because you laying with the white woman increase your numbers. You don't increase theirs. And what's going on in America right now? What's going on with America right now? Did y'all read the Associated Press story? 25 of the 50 states have zero population growth for white people. That's why the police killing us like that. That's why they locking us up like that. Because they can't reproduce. We can. And they like to make the black woman feel shameful about having a lot of babies because they can't. Why did George Washington rape so many black women on the plantation? Because Martha couldn't hold no babies. Why did Thomas Jefferson sexually molest little black girl Sally Hemings? Because his wife kept miscarriaging. Read the stories of America's founding fathers, and you will see how they women cannot keep them babies. That's why they take them drugs, fertility pills. They be having 25 big-head white babies all at the same time. Y'all know
Let me Dr. Umar, let me stop laughing. Dr. Umar.
You know I'm telling the truth. You saw them babies come out.
I
was
see.
15. It was 15 big head.
My face is not on this. let me ask you this. Sure. I'm not sure if you heard of the what is it, blue eyes, brown eyes exercise. That was Jane Elliott.
Yeah. Oh, Jane Elliott.
Yeah.
Mrs. White Racism Destroyer.
I like her, man. I like her, bro. I like her.
But y'all missing the point,
yeah,
though, with her and Tim Wise.
Okay.
This is a career for them.
Okay.
They will never see. Don't talk about it. What has Jane Elliott or Tim Wise done to actually work to eliminate white privilege in America?
Well, she's made white women cry, and you know when you do that, you're gonna lose your job.
That's not the
Preachers make you
same.
cry in church. What have they done?
That's fair.
You see what I'm saying?
Touche.
It is fair. It is
See,
fair.
see, we gotta separate the rhetoric from the work. So, for example, we talking, right?
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
telling you how they mess with our kids, right?
Yeah.
But I have a school I'm building. There's work with my rhetoric.
yeah.
You see, I got the National Independent. There's work with my rhetoric. There's work with your rhetoric. There's work. But Jane Elliott and Tim Wise?
I mean, we can't afford not to do something.
Exactly.
Because we're held to a different standard.
Exactly. But see, when black people hear white people crucify racism, we put them in a special place. They also benefit from white privilege.
Of course.
Remember Michael, who was the movie producer? Michael Moorer, Bowling for Columbine.
Yeah.
Michael.
Michael Moore.
Is it more?
Yeah, Michael Moore.
Remember?
Yeah, the white.
Yeah, remember he was Mr. Liberal, right? But remember he got cornered about Mamiya? What did he say? He said Mamiya was guilty. That's right. Get them liberals in the corner and push them on a real black issue, and you will see the cracker come right out. They not on your side.
Cracker.
But here's the thing. So,
Caucasian. Excuse me.
So it's-
Neanderthal. What you want me to say?
Look, I need you
So-
to be about as real as real. Cause why be fake?
So that whole situation.
That's not you.
Y'all, because they
That's-
don't do anything to eliminate the privilege.
Yeah.
Tim Wise, I respect them. Jane Elliott, I respect you. At least black people will listen to them when they say racism exists.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're not going to listen to me and you. But when they hear a white person say we racist,
Yes.
That's not us.
they believe them. So there's a benefit. But what I'm saying is,
With
it's
the
only
actions.
skin deep.
Right.
They're not doing anything to systematically eliminate racism, bias, inequity, and white privilege in this country. And they never will. They will only talk about it. The white liberal is the biggest racist of them all. Because they will come to the black community, tell you what's wrong with white people, and run right to the suburbs before it get dark. To their house with those same white folks.
Yeah, true. I do. I think about it a lot, because you do have the white people that speak up for us, but when it's, as we put it, when the shit hit the fan,
They know where to be found.
it's
Listen,
like, okay,
listen, they
I
wanna
need
dance
either you going to
black,
be on
They
us
want to talk black. They want to be in Black Panther. They want to. Everybody want to be black till it's time to face injustice.
And then
and
it's
then soon when the police start killing, they disappear. All the liberals go.
Yeah, that reminds me of well, I can't say it on the air, but Earth Gang. Earth Gang. Dang, can't remember the name of the song. But basically, he says, everybody wants to be an N-word until it's time to be an N-word.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yes!
white people like
They
that's
want to
mine.
rap,
Yep.
wear your clothes,
Chinese
date
like
your
that's my
girls, listen to your
Yeah.
music, drive your cars, big rims. But soon the cops start killing black folks, I'm a crack.
I am not one of them. No.
There was actually some jokes around that with so there was this video on Facebook that one of my young boys sent me about like these Chinese dudes that were making their hair like
Oh
like
yeah,
ours.
yeah. I
And, he
watched
was
that.
like- he said, "Watch when he get pulled over. He's gonna be talking about how to speak English."
Me from Korea.
Yeah,
Guess
I
what?
watched that.
If I had a child who thought white people weren't racist and their white friend was okay, I would let them hang with them. Because guess what? There's no better way to teach a black child that white people racist than to let them experience it. It's going to hurt them. It's going to crush their heart, but at least they will learn the lesson.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? At least they will learn the lesson. As long as it's not going to put them in any personal harm.
Yeah.
But just for my daughter to see that that white girl didn't genuinely care about you, when you went to her house and her parents said they couldn't find their wallet and she asked you, did you see it? Yeah. I'm saying this didn't happen, but this is what happens though.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Did you see The Hate You Give?
I have not
The
seen
movie?
that. Yeah.
The Hate You Give, you must see it.
Yeah, I was told you need
You
to.
must see it.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it
Yeah.
is fairly
I still
unique.
haven't seen the other movie, the Get Out. What is that?
Get Out.
Get
with
Out?
Us.
Some was that?
Is that
Is
the
Get
new
Out-
the new one?
Get Out was
Brother.
last year.
Yeah.
The new one is Us that's in the movie.
Yeah.
But I was like, I mean, from
I thought Get Out was better than Us though. I like Get
I
Out
didn't
better.
see
is
Us, but I
good,
saw Get Out.
Get Out was better to me.
Yeah,
Okay. Get Out was
yeah.
better.
It you really had me like, whoa. And his best friend was trying to tell him, but he didn't want to
I mean,
listen.
I live there every day. I mean, I'm a straight black man. Dark skin with
I don't know.
And
I don't
this-
know.
and
You
This
look-
is another reason
I
why
don't know.
we
You
gotta
look
stop
kinda-
giving them a pass.
Yeah.
You can't take a break from being black.
No.
The whites can. You see what I'm saying? They can come party in the hood, throw that suit on, and run their ass up.
You can run right back.
You see what I'm saying?
I can't do this. Like, this is
we
me
can't.
all day.
So why do you let them approximate your culture like that when it's just an act in a costume, and then they go home and be full-time white kids? But you can't take no break. You always black.
I'm always
so why would
black.
you even allow them to approximate your culture like that? It's a disrespect to every black person that ever lived. I don't hate white folks, but I know you racist. I don't hate snakes, but I know they bite, damn it.
Well, you know what I was trying to say earlier. It's kind of because damn, I forgot how I met Pat. It was at an event. But anyway, I had a forum here, and it was the lack of black love in the hood. And what happened was I was being tagged or shared in a lot of fights that was going on within our black community, pants hanging and everything. And I'm like, wow, that's a disgrace. Like, seriously, this is how we act? So I thought about immediately, you know, black man, of course, you come out of jail. I get it, baby mama drama. She want her money. Like, I just got out the door. Like, literally, I got the PO on my behind if I don't get a job. I don't condone selling, and I don't condone selling drugs. But okay, I gotta shut her up.
The judge tell you better show up Friday with $2 grand.
True.
I just got out of jail Monday. You telling me to have $2 grand by Friday? Now you and I know it's only one way to get $2 grand by Friday. You follow me?
Yeah.
So the judges are literally telling you to break the law.
Yeah.
But they're just not saying it.
They're just not saying it.
If he tell you gotta have $2 grand by Friday, 5 days, there's only one way I'm gonna get that.
Yep.
I got to sell or I got to stick somebody up.
Yep.
And it's a shame that they put us in those situations.
It is.
I hate child support
But
court.
we did.
I hate family court. That ain't nothing but the damn slave auction. We letting white folks dictate what's best for our kids.
I mean,
if you lay down to make them, why you can't stand up to take care of them? It's sick. And that line be long as hell. It's just like a slave auction block. Now I pay child support. I'll be scared to go down there because everybody knows I got the hoodie out. They say, Doc, can I get a picture? Not in here. Put that damn phone. Put the phone down. You can't get no picture. We in family court, my dude.
But here's the problem with that, though. A lot of people don't know that 15 to 20% of the proceeds go to the court.
Oh yes.
So you're literally taking money out of your own children's mouth.
Yes.
So I actually have females who I've dated, who I've talked to, who have kids, and like, oh well, he's only giving me $400 a month. What? I'm like, did you not hear what I said when I was taking care of my sister's 3 kids? I ain't get no money.
That's right.
I get no money from their dads.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I happily took care of them because that's how I was raised, right? Like you said, men are here to protect, provide, right?
Yep.
Even though they're not my kids and I ain't had no fun making them.
You'll be blessed for that.
Because of the situation and the circumstances, if I'm here, and here's my thing, and people could take this however they want. If you're in a position where you can help and you don't help, you're just as bad as the people that hurt you.
You sure are.
Period.
Absolutely.
Like, we are obligated as men, as people, to step in when we can. Trust me, you can't save everybody.
We are, but we've gotten away from it.
Okay.
Service has been transformed into selfishness. We are as selfish as people. Do you know that black people are at the bottom of the list to adopt and foster parent black children? We are the last people likely to adopt and foster our own kids. Yes. All these black kids in the Philadelphia foster care system, they're more likely to be adopted by somebody other than a black person. Really? Yes. We at the bottom.
But it seems like we're in the bottom.
Because they make it very difficult for us to adopt. I know people wanted to adopt and foster. You know what they tell them? Well, you got locked up for marijuana at 15.
Some of these little kids bad as hell, bro. I don't know.
Stop.
I put hands on people's kids.
Right, but if we
I'm from that era.
If we don't take them, they'll be the ones out there killing grandma. Yeah. Right. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because you say to yourself, how could a 15-year-old blow out another person's brains? Yeah. There's no remorse. Yeah. If you never felt love, how do you give it? Yeah. If you never felt, you say, that woman took that man kid from him, never let him see his child. Well, in her house, that's how the father treated the mother. She never saw what respect for the opposite gender looked like. A lot of these kids that show this intense hate and lack of remorse, they never saw love, man. Yeah. We got a whole generation of black kids who don't know what love is, but they know what pain is. They know what hate is. And they know what revenge is. And if we don't get them in check, they're going to end up killing us. They will purge us We don't have to worry about the white folks.
Nope.
These crazy black kids will purge us themselves because they are literally out of their minds.
They are. They are. But real fast, we talked about the lack of black love in the hood, and only I did that because there was a young lady in Florida a few years ago. Apparently, it was a big stink because she had mental issues, and the police. She had her daughter in her hand, and the police had shot and killed her while she had her baby in her hand. Philly did a little peace march, and I missed it. And it was supposed to end at the Philadelphia Library.
No more marching.
So I missed the.
No more marching.
Well, it was Philadelphia did their march because of the lady, but they were to meet up.
I get it.
Yeah, they was going to meet up at the library, and I get to the library, and I asked the question, where are the men? Because I noticed that some of these protests, these things, it's the ladies when it used to be the men. So that's why I asked, where are the black men? I get it.
We working. In jail or we working? To pay child support.
But not all black men are in jail, and not all black men are working. So even when you are working, why is it these ladies get off from work and we're arm to arm protesting the laws of right?
The sisters shouldn't have to front
You
line.
shouldn't. It's supposed to be the men, the women, and then the children. You know, and that was it. But then I also did a follow up with the ladies, and it was, are we bitter? Or we just misunderstood. And I asked that question because I literally was walking on 15th Street going in town, and I watched the white lady on her phone. And as I was getting near her, she was on the phone pissed, but she was quiet with her pissed. 2 blocks later, I see Rashima on the phone, and all I heard from 2 blocks away, so I figured if I turn around and look, she'll shut up. I'm still listening to her, and I'm trying to figure out, are we just bitter? And that's what they came in. So I had State Rep Morgan Cephas come on, and another lady come on. And of course, you know, the fight was a little different, but why is it that we are such a undivided, unlike group of, and I look at slavery and it's like, okay, y'all made us. Like we didn't say, hey, you know, make us slaves. But why is it no one likes us to the point where
3 reasons. I gave you 1. Your genetic superiority. They hate you for that. Everybody hates you for that. Because if you touch their women, you make more black kids. They hate you for that. You're the only people in the world who have that. That's number 1. Number 2, your historical accomplishments. Look at what we have done. We're the oldest people. We're the greatest people. We've built things that the world still can't even figure out how we did it. The Chinese and Japanese tried to do a pyramid. Did you know that? They kept messing it up. They said, we can recreate the pyramids. Yes, you didn't read about this. Yes, the Chinese and the Japanese, the smart people, tried to do the pyramids in Kemet and could not do it. They gave up and said, we can't do it. Yes, not only that, look at our inventions. We invented this, cell phone, internet, helicopter, refrigerator truck.
Invented the chip. A lot of people don't know that.
Why
Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Because Lewis Latimer wrote that textbook and told them how to light up the city at
street
night.
light.
You understand? They know
street.
left alone without racism, you would rule the world again. See, here is the hypocrisy of racism. The hypocrisy of racism is, if you are so superior to me, why do you have to systematically disadvantage me if you're going to win anyway? You see that? If you are greater than me, the white man is superior to the black man. Why do you have to systematically disadvantage the black man if you're superior? Yeah. You should be able to give me a head start and still win. The truth of the matter is white supremacy is really white inferiority. White supremacy is really white inferiority and white insecurity. That's why white women naturally crave the black man sexually. You go into a room full of white girls, they will crave you because you're the original man. The melanin, the DNA, the universe speaks to that white girl through you. She's not full because she's pale. She ain't got this. We're the only complete human beings. Everybody else is a hybrid and an android. The Chinese are androids. The Mexicans are androids. The Europeans are hybrids. We're the only full one. So a woman that reproduces life on a subconscious level is going to want to reproduce full-bred children. That's Africans. The white woman don't even know why she like you. She can hate black people and still be attracted to that black man. That's why you see a lot of racist white women married to these black men. But she don't even like black folks because there's something about his melanin that speaks to her because she's not complete without it. And that's why the white men get real insecure when we're around their women, because they can feel their women wanting us. And some brothers mistake that for sexual performance. It ain't got nothing to do with sexual performance. It has to do with genetic significance. We are the gods and goddesses. What the Bible says, and you shall know that you are gods.
That's another Jerry episode, because that was the
But you're not gonna
stereotype.
get that in public school.
No.
There's no way in hell you're going to turn a black boy into a god and a black girl into a goddess in Philadelphia public schools because you pledge an allegiance 180 days a year for 12 years. I'll pledge allegiance.
To the flag.
180 days after 12 years, by the time you get out, you a Negro. Ain't no God in there. Negro. So the first thing we got to do is get our kids out them schools. It will never be a hope. You cannot let your enemy educate your kids and think you're going to get liberated. Do you know the best time to mold the mind is birth to 12? Yeah. And guess where our kids be at birth to 12? With Miss Silverberger and Slurbanowski. Okay.
I'm going to pop them.
Okay. White women got our kids.
But I mean, even though we're laughing, that is the truth. It is the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah,
There's some
it is the
validity to
truth.
what you're saying.
You
You
know,
don't see
yeah.
no white people leaving their kids with black people all day long.
But there's some validity to what you're saying about completion. Well, except if it's the nanny. But and it's usually a Caribbean person. But no shade. So there's some validity to what you're saying. I learned this from Dr. Dedisi.
I know the name.
Yeah, so Dr. Dedisi was a Buffalo soldier. Rest in power to the ancestors.
All right.
I didn't know him for a very long time, but in the short time I know, we used to text every day.
Wow.
I miss him so much.
Buffalo soldier.
And I really,
He was a Buffalo soldier.
he was a real one.
He's a real one.
He's a real
Wow.
one. He's a real one. Actually, shout out to the Federation of the National Federation of Black Veterans out in Germantown. I appreciate those old heads. Every time I'm always in the room with at least 100, 200-300 years of experience, easy. Man. And they always pour into me.
It is.
They always pour into me. But yeah, Dr. DC used to come. I think he lives all the way in LA, and he was like a sheriff for like 30 years.
Woo.
Yeah, so he survived a lot, and he always used to tell me like, yeah, he was like, you are complete, and I'm like, what are you saying? Like, what do you mean by that? And he was like, I really appreciate the fact that you ran afro. I'm like, why you say that? He was like, pluck one of your hair. He was like, I was like that. So he plucked the hair out of my head. He said, look at this. And he pulled it, and he was like, that's a number 9. 9 is completion. It's a divine number. And I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
just that little bit, right? Punched me right inside of my head. So I had to go look, I did the research. So to your point about, but I really think that when we both work in conjunction with the sisters, that's when we find God. That's my personal opinion.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Because our divinity partly lies in our connecting to the opposite gender.
Yep.
Okay? We are a reflection and a manifestation of supreme consciousness, but supreme consciousness fixed us in a way to need that other side.
Yeah.
God is complete, but we are not yet complete till we have that opposite person. So like in African culture, you're not even considered a human being until you marry, because you need that other side of you. You're not considered a man until you take wife in many cultures.
Wow.
You see, and spiritually, you're not considered whole without your woman, because you need her to ground you, and she needs you to ground her. Which is why in African culture, even in a patrilineal society where the men rule, there's still a queen mother that rules over the king. That old woman sitting next to Shaka Zulu, that's the queen mother. Guess what her job is? Her job as the manifestation of feminine energy is to make sure the masculine energy stays in balance with the feminine. So if the king makes a decision that is out of alignment with the people, meaning it's not masculine and feminine together, the queen mother can override the king. The king is not the be-all and end-all. The queen mother has the right to unseat him. There is no masculine without the feminine. That's why when you see African art, you see the big, strong king, and behind him you normally see some wings or some feathers or some breasts. That's letting you know that his authority lies in the fact that he's harmonizing his masculinity with femininity. The divine is the balance of masculine and feminine, which is a whole nother conversation on if that's the case, what about same-sex couples? Next! No comment.
We come back next week on this one.
Leave it alone. Hot.
Listen,
Yeah.
Gay people have the right to be just as miserable as the rest of us. You want to get married, you get married.
Yes.
You heard?
But
Uh-oh.
I'm just kidding.
from a community perspective,
I got you.
and I love all black folks,
Yeah.
but we do have to have a conversation on what is in our best interest as a people and not. We've always had that behavior around us, right? It's nothing new.
Sure.
But it was never promoted as a positive option for our children. And it was never indoctrinated in elementary school. That's where we take the issue at. If you into that, you into that.
Yeah.
But who told you to come out the room with it and start giving it to the grandkids? That's the issue that we got.
Because you're imposing your will on them. That's not fair.
When you grew up, you only had one path. When she grew up, she had one path.
Yeah.
My daughters, I gotta have conversations with them because they got 6, 7, 8, 9 paths now.
Yeah.
You can be this, you can be this, you can be this, you can be this, and this.
Especially when they go to
You can be
college.
this. This, you got 12 choices. Ain't that? I won't get y'all in trouble.
Nah.
Okay. Okay, you ending that. Okay.
Man, but this is